was heartache for Hawks fans last Saturday. The team succumbed to a Richmond side that roared to life late in the piece, 1 point the final margin. Still, there were plenty of positives to take from the loss, and lots for Hawthorn to carry into their second clash of the season against the Saints. Welcome to another edition of the Hawk Talk podcast. My name is Nick Mason, and joining me as always, a man who has hopefully recovered from the regrettable turn of events last week. G'day, Tiz.
Yeah, I only found out about it on the train.
No, you stayed till the end. I wanted to leave, mate. I wanted to, but because I knew it was coming.
No, we should have won. There should have been. I was sitting there going, just give him enough of a sniff and then take it down the other end and score.
Yeah,
I actually thought it was going to be a draw again because we had one so close in living memory, and I'm sitting there, but there were so many opportunities for us to just kill it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate the way it played out. I just got a sense that as soon as Richmond got on a roll, I was like, oh yeah, no, I've seen this script before. I know
but
how
then
this is happening.
The disappointment was immediately nullified by the fact that Hawthorn had played very well on the day.
Well, yeah, that is true. I mean, look, this game was fun until it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was fun for most of the day.
And the fact that they managed to get a run on, and there are a few blokes that went missing under pressure. Mm-hmm. And, they need to learn from that.
Chad Wingard.
Oh.
Oh, wow. A visceral reaction from you, Tiz.
Fantastic start to the day.
Yeah.
A sheer arse goal, just a toe poke.
It is World Cup season after all. So 2 goal assists as well to go with his 3 goals won. That's a pretty damn good half.
Yeah, but he was doing what we saw him do against North when he first arrived at the club. He was looking talismanic. And I was thinking, how good's he going to look leading to, Bailey Smith coming off the wing or
come on.
Or Liam Ryan handballing to him in traffic. Or
you've been banging on about all the players, all the potential trade targets, our WhatsApp messages. It's just full of it.
Grundy tapping it out of the ruck to
God.
him. Who else is linked?
So, ladies and gentlemen, Tiz has us replacing half the team in the off-season at this point.
That was great at the pub. I named from the back line Asavo Radagalier at fullback.
Yeah, at the risk of sounding all Lou Bega, that was Palmer number 2 for me today.
Oh, God.
I know.
Really?
I don't feel great. I feel sleepy.
I thought you looked a bit green.
Coming across a bit Fergus, you reckon?
Anyway, Chad Wingard, he had us up and about. He gave something to the team. He gave him an impetus.
Yeah.
He gave him a belief.
Until he
nearly held through to the end of the day.
Well, I think it's being slightly generous. He went
the
missing.
Belief. But I'm talking about the belief because he had one touch after.
Yeah, that's
half-time.
Right. He faded badly. So look, tale of two halves clearly for Chad. He clearly recaptured something very special in that first half, but it just did not come to fruition at all in the second.
I mean, the forward line didn't function all that well. What about this game? When you look at it, we were very accurate. Mm-hmm. Incredibly accurate.
Well, it was a nice change from the week before.
Yeah, because we had... this is great. Our expected score...
Oh, you love this. You love the expected score.
I wrote it off last week, but now it's a good
stat. It's a good stat.
Our expected score was 67.
Okay, so we've done remarkably well. We're almost 30 points plus there.
95.
Yeah.
Richmond's expected score, 101.
Okay, all right.
96.
Yeah. I think the forward line still needs a lot of work. And if that's the case and we're still scoring 95 and we're only going down by 1 point, I mean, I know we're being awfully negative with the players that we're sort of cherry-picking here, but we need to stay with it.
Well, I mean, Wingard had 1 touch after half-time. Brockman had 3. Mm-hmm. Bruce, he had 6. And so did Connor McDonald. He had 6 after half-time.
This is a forward line with Finn McGuinness as well. And I understand the role that he was playing, but I don't want to see Finn McGuinness in our forward line, please. I thought some of his efforts attacking the footy...
I thought he kicked a goal.
He did kick a goal.
Right.
Yeah, there's a nice little assist from Chad when things were good. But some of Finn's efforts... in terms of his endeavour, his intent, and his hunger to attack the footy were not up to scratch. And a lot of those happened right in front of N10. And no way. Do not want to see that again. I'm happy for
There's
him to
another
be
forward you haven't mentioned. Who kicked 4 goals too.
Hang on.
Mitch Lewis, your best mate. You love him.
Yeah, but I had plenty to say that was negative first before I got to the...
Yeah, well, we've got to have a little bit of shine on the Mitch Lewis stuff.
Yeah.
And then you can go...
It's a shot and
You
chase
can go
it,
after
mate.
someone who didn't get the ball.
So you're thinking a nice ebb and flow for this podcast.
Yeah. 'Cause
All right. Well, the last thing I'll say on Finn McGuinness is I'm happy to have him in the side, and I think he's, in fact, necessary, particularly with the Collingwood game in mind as well. We had a question from...
The all-important Collingwood game.
Well, look, that could turn ugly. We need something to stop Dacos.
Yeah, be
evidently.
arrested. Yeah.
Well, if that happens, so be it. But look, we need to have an eye in on that contest with Finn playing that one. This question from Neil: can we honestly afford to have a dedicated tagger who can't hit the side of a barn via handball? I want Finn to do well, awesome at his main job, but turns it over way too often.
He does. Bit of deer in the spotlights with Finn a lot of the time.
Well, he's played out of position. He just shouldn't be anywhere near the forward line.
It's very hard to find the right position for Finn.
Well, it's not there. It's half back or midfield.
He has had good games at halfback. That's true.
Well, he's at
we
least-
look at that. We look at halfback as a fulcrum for the next attack, and that is not what he's there for.
He's at least played halfback. I don't think I've ever seen him in the forward line for as long as we did this game. And it never really... I know he got that goal. But apart from that, it just... I didn't think his efforts were up to scratch.
Look, if Sammy had wanted to win this game, we would have won this game. He could have done a number of things to hamper the scoring efforts of Richmond.
He could have got the boys...
We did not flood their forward line. We gave them space, even into the last 10 minutes.
Well, we could have trained for these scenarios, which, Sam Mitchell confessed to not having done, that we don't train for tight games, which I get. It's year 2 under Sam Mitchell. That's not a priority.
What
I
I'm
understand.
saying is he backed that attacking mentality to work at the death.
Yeah.
When their bodies were screaming that they didn't have anything left.
Yeah. No, they went into their shells, Hawthorn. That was clear.
Well, I mean, it's a. You can see how many fellas fell off in the last quarter.
Yeah.
In terms of their touches, but look, I respect him for backing that game plan because we were very close to nailing the door shut on Richmond.
Yeah, we were.
There were a couple of very good scoring opportunities that didn't fall our way, and I think if you win that game, is this a bit? I don't know.
So you're
I don't really want to finish this phrase, but I feel like you learn more.
Yeah, you're looking at the learning opportunity
from the losing of the game.
Look, I'll give you this because it is year 2. Fair enough. If this is year 3, 4, or 5 under Mitchell,
and not only do I mean the players learn more, Sam learns a lot from watching which players took it upon themselves to try and get the win.
Yep. Well,
and when you're looking at people like Chad Wingard who couldn't get near it, that's a big question mark.
Mm-hmm. He's had a lot to learn from Mitchell this year. GWS, the Crows, Richmond.
Yeah, but there's a lot. It's great to be close, right?
Yeah.
We shouldn't have been this close. Richmond were very inaccurate, and we kicked really well.
Yeah,
so let's keep that in mind as well.
I thought we played pretty well, to be honest.
But there's a lot of decisions to be made on this list, and this is exactly the kind of it's a bit of courage under fire, isn't it? That you're looking for. If someone stands up, he stays. If you don't, you're very close to falling off the list.
Well, you want me to talk about my main man, Mitch Lewis. That was where we were going with this. We got slightly sidetracked. 4 goals, 2, 14 touches. To go with that 4 goals, 2, he gave one off as well, 1 goal assist. And I did message you at the start of the game, in the early goings, that down the other end of the field where Mitch was stationed, we were kicking to the city end.
Yeah, I was looking over him and thinking, I'm not seeing what Nick's seeing.
Yeah, well, I told you he was on.
Yeah.
I just had that feeling about him, and he stepped up. I mean, in a 1-point loss for a guy to kick 4 goals, 2, obviously very important in giving us a fighting chance.
Oh, absolutely. What did he have? He had 7 scoring involvements.
Yep.
McDonald had 6.
Who had the most? Guy I've already mentioned, Chad.
I know, Chad.
Yep.
And 9. All in the first half.
Yep.
It's spellbinding what he can do and also how quickly he can go missing.
So it seems to me that there are 2 locks with the forward line. That's the most in round
Wingard
19.
And Lewis.
The most we can say in round 19. There are 2 dependables. That's Lewis No, not more.
Not more?
Lewis and
Top
Bruce.
50 years.
According to Champion Data.
Okay.
Do you buy into Champion Data that much?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Bruce,
we had this discussion at the pub, actually, where I said, can you think of 3 players in 17 of the other teams that you would draft before Dylan Moore? And we both agreed that we probably could.
But my point is, Bruce and Lewis are the locks in a forward line that, even at round 19, is still a little bit in flux. And I'll tell you why. It's not just the Finn factor. It is Wingard going missing, certainly. It's Brockman is a dab hand, but he's still very, very young and building that experience. But then, how are we fitting out that forward line? Well, we've given it a go with Denver, Granger, Barris. And it did not work on this occasion, clearly.
No, it didn't work.
Donuts for Denver.
Can't blame Denver, though.
Can't I?
Well,
Didn't get a single touch, mate.
all right. Yep. But
He played well into the third quarter. He played forward. He played back.
he's not a forward. He did contest well. He brought it to ground, but he wasn't aware of the threat of his man or his defender that he was meant to. I mean, look, it's. I'm trying to defend something that's very hard to defend.
Yeah, you've become a defender.
I mean, he had 5 pressure points
Oh,
for the day.
Stop, please.
Everything else.
This is getting sad now.
Everything else is a duck egg.
Yeah, it was a shocker.
But to me, you can't place all of that on Denver. That is a selection issue, and I think throughout the year there have been some horror selections,
Okay, so
or at least where they've been stationed on field has not been good.
well, here's the thing about Denver. According to Sam Mitchell, clearly this is not the way forward, is him being a forward.
It's a great way to motivate the guy.
Well,
but, yeah.
the trajectory is that he's meant to be a defender. This has been established. So this is a brief experiment, a brief detour that might have run its course at this point. I don't know. I don't imagine he gets selected this week. Not off that.
Strangely, as soon as he came off, we lost all dominance in our forward line.
Yeah.
It meant that they could just double team Mitch Lewis and run off really quick.
But this is what I've been calling for weeks.
So
give me Cozzy again if you have to. I'm not thrilled with him, but he did just kick 4 goals in the VFL. A very close game. Brandon Ryan.
Thank you.
Well, that's who I want to see.
Good.
You know he's the guy.
How'd Ned go on the weekend? Won't be seeing him again after he displayed a bit of venom and got wrapped over the knuckles immediately.
Yep. I mean, it's a kind of physicality that we were craving from Ned Reeves, but the AFL has stamped out quick smart.
Oh, just so frustrating.
Yeah, I think he took 1 mark
Should
a
have
day.
slapped him.
Yeah, that's the way
There's
out,
some
isn't
weird
it?
stuff going on, isn't there?
Yeah, Sicily, 3 weeks for a tackle, but you can slap someone in the face, and that's a week downgraded.
Yeah.
Amazing, isn't it?
When we had Frost in the ruck as well.
Not that you knew it.
Well, I mean, I had to be reminded. But yes,
Yeah, but
it wasn't something that glittered and I thought, oh, that's a great move, or we should continue to do that in future.
Well-
I thought Sam Frost had a good game, though.
well, no, he did, and I think you take that as a small win. The fact that it wasn't catastrophic. It worked. Well, Frost in the ruck on paper.
Let's face it, Richmond have never really respected the ruck too much.
No, but on paper, before that game, if you had been told Frost in the ruck,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have felt good about it.
How did Reeves go, as a matter of fact? 11 hit-outs to advantage to 9 to Soldo, and 33 to 37 in Reeves' favour in terms of just plain hit-outs. So the thing is, the marks around the ground, the ability to be involved in chains.
Yeah, it's the impact anywhere else. He is elite in one area and deficient elsewhere.
So we're saying Meek comes straight in. Rama will be available for selection, but
Yeah, but without
he's
match
had
fitness.
3 weeks
Yeah,
without a game?
effectively, yeah.
Yeah. So Rama, do you think he could possibly come in for DGB, or are you still thinking Brandon Ryan comes in?
I would say Ryan. Yeah. I mean, we are playing... Box Hill have a lowly
Saturday
ranked...
game.
Yeah, Saturday. I think it's against
2 o'clock.
Sandringham.
Yep.
And a lowly ranked opponent in Sandringham. I think
But it's a fun day for the kids.
It is. We'll get to that. But Brandon Ryan, tell me when, if not this week. Mitch Lewis needs this. Okay, I know he kicked 4.
But he could have kicked 10, right?
Well, our forward line is still, as I say, it's still in flux. It clearly needs...
Oh, I tell you what, flux is something I thought about the forward line. Look, it's been all year, and it's been very close to non-functional.
Yeah,
in terms of accuracy on goal, they finally nailed that on the weekend.
Yeah.
But, even the accuracy of the inside 50s has been poor. Shallow entries or too deep or ill-directed. It's the whole year. And that is only going to be, let me tell you, that is only going to be fixed at the trade table. It's not going to be fixed through the draft.
Look, they've still got 5 games or so to work something out. To start testing stuff.
No, not going to happen. You're not going to fix it this late in the season and expect it to work next year.
I'm not saying... I'm saying that you give guys experience in that part of the ground. And yes, that's Ryan. That's Ramsden eventually. Because he's a forward more than he is a ruck. But Lewis needs another tall target there for assistance.
Jekka is under enormous pressure to stay on the list.
He at the very least played well in the VFL last week.
Does he get a chance before Brandon Ryan?
No. Jekka is a defender now. And I think it was the game for Box Hill against Richmond that finally convinced me of he is singularly a defender. I don't think we'll ever see him forward again.
If the club is being linked to Asava Radaglia, Jekka ain't staying.
So look, I know we've taken on a little bit of a negative tone, but there were some things that worked really well.
Midfield was terrific for the whole day.
Yeah, they were.
And, Sicily, immaculate. Carl Amon is probably one of the greatest trades this year.
Yep.
James Warple is keeping on building. I was surprised by the lack of touches for Will Day.
Yes, but he used it very well.
Yeah, he used it terrifically. He took risks, and the risks paid off. It was very interesting to see the intelligence of Will Day pick apart. I'm keeping
that in. Am I?
When you see your defence just sitting in a heap, kick it at Will Day.
Such an obscure reference.
Anyway, Will Day, the intelligence to pick apart the...
Can't even say it with a straight face.
Richmond defence. It was wonderful to see.
Jai Newcombe, 30 disposals and a goal. Sicily, you mentioned before, 28 touches at 92.9% disposal efficiency. A team high, and 13 of those contested. 6 contested marks, 15 intercept possessions. He is not in the form he was in last year, and yet...
Yeah, they're still talking All-Australian.
Oh, exquisite game from James Sicily.
I thought the attack on the football was great all day as well.
Yeah, the endeavour was there. I just think we got overrun. I don't... And we started at the top by saying this.
Let's not go back there.
No, I'm just saying I kind of liked it for the most part, and to the extent that I back us in against St Kilda. I'm not down on the team.
Oh, yeah. 40 points, please. I watched that game. St Kilda versus North.
Why?
They were...
What were you hoping
horrible. They were absolute... Well, I was hoping that Ratton could get one over the old mob that sort of said...
Yeah.
And then Rewalt came out during the week and said, their standards are so much better now.
Yeah.
And then they came out and produced this putrid performance. I really wanted Rats to win that match. But unfortunately, Liam Shields had to go off with a calf injury at the end of the third quarter. And basically that provided the gaps in the midfield for St Kilda. Anyway, North could still have won were it not for the umpire intervening. So they're no good.
Got this question from Jack. Hypothetical, of course. Does keeping one of the experienced players in O'Meara, Shields, or Tom Mitchell result in the Hawks winning some of the close games and not giving up substantial leads? This is the last time we'll mention these guys, I think.
DKDC? Don't care?
There's a little bit of that. Look, they might have. But that is a 2023 problem. And these guys demonstrably were not carrying us forward. They weren't part of our future. We've seen enough this year. We're at round 19. It is abundantly clear that was the right call for the Hawthorn Football Club. Okay, we know this. We've known this for a long time.
It's a bit fortuitous because we've been statistically one of the worst teams in the last 15 to 20 years. But there's two other clubs that are much worse this year.
That's true.
And we've taken that opportunity to really blood some fellas. We're not getting a wooden spoon. We're probably getting picked 3 or 4, depending on how mismanaged North Melbourne is. So I think we've done pretty well.
This question from Enns. How would you both compare our last 2 drafts, mainly C-Mac and Weddle versus Ward and McKenzie? I realise they have different roles. The later picks just seem to have more spark, though. Do we pick safe in our first round, then exciting in our following pick? It certainly seems that way, doesn't it?
Well, Weddle, they couldn't believe that he was still available and went and got him. C-Mac has surprised.
Yep.
Don't you think?
I guess it does bode well when the news that immediately comes out of other camps is that they're furious. That they saw something in Connor McDonald and Hawthorn swooped in. I believe it was Carlton from memory who really hated it.
They were furious.
I think Essendon as well.
But I mean, that doesn't augur well because they don't really nail medium to late picks.
Well, I like what I've seen so far from Connor McDonald.
Ward's had interrupted. Like he's a very, very good footballer, but he's just got to get his body right more often than not.
Yeah.
And Cam McKenzie is just Rolls Royce that they're happy to deploy. If he played on the weekend, I'm sure Hawthorn wins, to be quite honest.
There's a Rolls Royce they need to take out of the garage, I think,
mean, he's
at the
just
moment.
He's just hanging around in the VFL, racking up numbers, and he seems to have so much space.
Let's get to those numbers. And it's an astute observation, that one. Let's get to Box Hill Hawks, who defeated Richmond by 3 points. They hung in there. Cam McKenzie, as you mentioned, 27 touches, 7 tackles, and 8 clearances. He seems more than capable. We
Underline
know
the tackles.
Yep.
Because that's intent. That is competitive spirit. And that is from a bloke that's still a twiglet.
Yeah, he is. He's still filling out. He still looks like a kid. And that's not a knock on the guy. That's just the age that he is. I thought it was impressive. Box Hill rallied from a slow start. They fought back pretty well, and then it was up to them to hold off a late charge to secure a crucial win. They've gone a game clear from Casey now. We're sitting in the top 4 with just a month to play in the home and away season. It was James Blank that had a really decisive play right at the end.
Under pressure.
Yep.
He knew what had to be done.
Produced a match-winning spoil. That resulted in a rush behind. That enabled us to hold on for the win.
Very clever spoil because he put it through the goals. He wasn't going to give him another chance.
Yes, that's right.
It wasn't easy to put it through the goals from where he was, and he risked putting it out into the open goal face.
Really, Box Hill should have won this by more. I mean, plus 31 in disposals, plus 14 inside 50s, plus 6 in clearances, plus 14 in marks. The symmetry about it was a little odd. I mean, all told, now that we're removed from both games, Richmond's VFL side came roaring back, and it was up to us to hold on, and we did.
Yeah, Cooper Stevens is starting to build a good body of work, as they say.
I've mentioned it before that Little John...
Don't think he's going to get the nod, though.
Not this week.
Or this year.
Or this year.
No.
I think some point before the end of the year he will. 23 touches, 7 clearances, and a goal for Cooper Stevens, who's starting to build that consistency, which Little John keeps on raving about. That's what we need. It's what we want to see from these players. He's one guy that's starting to do it. Jacob Kosicki, 4 goals, 13 touches, 4 marks. He was clearly a vital target.
How do you overlook him?
Well, that's it. And especially with what he produced earlier in the year against St Kilda.
Yeah.
I mean...
Let's have a reprise?
Yeah, a reprise. An encore.
An encore performance.
Yeah, I mean, he was fantastic.
Lloyd Meek, he dominated.
Yeah, he did. And I mean, look, with everything that happened with Reeves, Meek walks up into the side anyway. But just as well that he played pretty well.
Got a goal.
Yep, 27 hit-outs, 15 touches and a goal. Emerson Jacker, I mentioned already, 20 touches and 11 marks, and just was vital and looked so capable, so strong and important to the end result.
And Kel Porter and Callum Brown were the engine again. So
Yeah, two VFL listed guys in terms of doing the tough stuff for the longest. They were instrumental. Cal Porter with 28 touches. Talk about Rolls Royce. He just looked fantastic in some of those plays. Callum Brown, he's a guy that is averaging 30-plus touches for the season. He'd probably count himself enormously stiff that he's not back on an AFL list by now. But he's just kept on keeping on anyway, beyond the mid-season draft. 36 touches, 5 inside 50s, 6 rebound 50s, and 7 marks. That's just nuts.
And whack was the late inclusion, and he kicked the goal too.
He did. It was a good goal. Kaczynski with 4, Brandon Ryan with 2, Butler with 2 goals, but could have had more. Yet again, Sam Butler's got to take these chances. He's getting plenty of them. Stevens, Morrison, and Meek rounded out the goal kickers.
Morrison with another year to run on his contract.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, contracted to the end of 2024, which is probably just as well for him, because I think otherwise it'd be on a knife's edge.
So this week we played Box Hill at 2 o'clock against Sandy, and it should be a fairly convincing victory, you'd have to say.
Yeah, definitely. We've got them covered in terms of ladder position quite easily. We've had a far more successful year. Box Hill will certainly have some support on hand. We can say that July 29th, Box Hill versus Sandy, it's Community Day. So there's plenty going on. Face painting, you'll love that. Footy for Fun clinics, halftime Auskick. I believe it's Fighter exhibition match. Hawthorn AFL and AFLW player appearances, signing and photo opportunities, Hawks giveaways. The mascots are there. What's not to
There'll
like?
be a Hawthorn player appearance, will there?
Well, how many are going to be there? I don't know. They don't say. But there's plenty going on the Community Day, and hopefully a commanding win over Sandy to top it all off.
And after that commanding win, a commanding win against St Kilda on the Sunday at 1 o'clock at our home stadium, Marvel.
Yes, that's right. It's our home game against St Kilda. Thanks, AFL. What do you reckon? Since it's our home game, do you think we could have the roof open during the week?
That is the greatest piece of look over here nonsense.
Oh, isn't it?
While my team is absolutely putrid and sitting 6th, how on earth that happened, I do not know.
Yeah, that's what it was all about. It's PR spin.
I mean, they played indoors, let's face it.
Yep.
It wasn't like they played in the rain.
Both teams played the conditions. It wasn't one having an unfair advantage. They're both tenants of Marvel anyway. Who cares? Huge beat up. But
and they shut it 2 hours earlier than they usually do. So anyway.
Who's coming out of the side? Well, Reeves will miss through suspension. Who else? Well, we're unsure at this stage.
Does DGB get a reprieve?
No, I'd say DGB probably loses his spot based on that.
McGuinness,
I think they keep him in.
I hope Long gets another opportunity.
Yeah, same here.
Anyone else you thinking might come out of the side?
In terms of out of the side, I'm not sure, but there's so many potentials to come in. I mean...
What did you think of Scrimmer?
I don't actually, at this point, remember much about his game.
Oh.
How was he rated in your assessment?
I don't know. But he should have an impact. He's a senior player. So if you don't know that he was out there, that might be saying something.
Oh, it's just because we're almost a week removed. That's all. He wasn't in my best. Anyway, Meek should come in. Blank has to be in the frame. Ramsden, well, he doesn't have any match fitness, but he was maybe getting a look before he got concussed. Cozzy, Brandon Ryan.
Give me Ryan or Cozzy. That's all I want.
Well, Richard asks, you taking Ryan's 15 shots at goal in the last 4 weeks or Cozzy's 4 snags in the next week's game? Surely we get another look at Jekka and Sarong in the last few weeks of the year. Now, there's a guy
why not
who played
both?
well. Well, why not both indeed? The old El Paso philosophy.
Can we get Cozzy and Ryan under the roof at Etihad with Mitch Lewis?
Oh, there you go. Triple threat.
Yeah, and all you have to do is win it out of the centre and kick it long.
Well, that's what I reckon, yeah. And you're only playing one ruck.
And they're down a key defender.
Yep.
As of today's training at St Kilda. I'm thinking, is that 40 points?
No, you've got money on this.
Oh, not yet.
Yeah, but you will.
Probably.
I know you. Jai Sarong was a guy that we didn't mention in the Box Hill recap there. He played very well too. He seems to be the go-to guy for 1%ers.
Huge natural talent.
Yes.
Jai Sarong. I was hoping we could get his brother out of Freo because they're tanking. Or I don't know what they're doing. Either it's the year that, they have to have where they're on the down and then they come up and win a premiership. Like Richmond or Melbourne or Longmire. Longmuir's not going anywhere.
You're a bit down on yourself for that, Flop.
I am. Because I thought to myself, as I went into that phrase, Don't say Longmire.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly.
In a very strange way. Anyway, mate, we seem to be feeling quite confident about this Saints game. Does it have anything to do with the fact that...
They're terrible.
Well, we beat them already.
Right,
Okay?
yeah.
So that must help our confidence. The fact with, what you saw on the weekend against North.
Geez, Liam Shields was good against them.
So guy in his twilight of his career.
Yeah, he's putting his hand up for another contract. Don't you doubt that?
Anything's possible at North, mate. Could get another contract, for sure.
Apart from Mackay staying, I think.
Well, actually, yeah, we'll rule that out. Could come to Hawthorn yet.
Ooh.
Well, I don't know. We'll get to
we're just putting our hand up for everyone, are we?
It does seem like it, and we'll get to that in a moment. But first of all, some social
tired,
media...
You're poor,
some social media stuff. It'd be awesome and much appreciated if you could spare a moment to leave a rating and even a review of our show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to our show. It always brightens our day to see them, and it helps attract fellow Hawkers to the podcast too. Meanwhile, as always, we'd love for you to join the conversation with us across our social channels. Get on board with us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And finally, the podcast wouldn't be what it is without the support of our proud, passionate, and paid-up Patreon subscribers. So, a massive thanks to all of you lovely people. We really appreciate you supporting the show and making a very real contribution towards what we produce week to week. For everyone else who's not on board yet, if you're interested in supporting us and joining us, head to patreon.com/HawkTalkPod.
So, Dingley, buggered. We're not going. Is that right? Sam Edmund, Caro, they've all told us, don't do it, Hawthorn.
Don't be successful.
Don't have big dreams. Stay in your short trousers.
Stay in your lane.
Well, we cannot stay at Waverley. We've outgrown it. There's nowhere for the AFLW. There's hardly enough room for the men's group.
Yep.
This isn't an option. So whatever the board are doing, they got to do it better.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when this report first came out from Sam Edmund about the board rumblings and the going-ons.
We'd heard rumblings for a little while.
Yeah.
There's a few people who've been not vocal in their displeasure, but there were certainly rumblings about changes.
Yes.
People who were involved with the project earlier no longer wanted to be associated with the project going forward, and that's never a good tell. So,
but in terms of this report from Sam, cost blowouts and delays.
I mean, that's just Victoria.
Well, I heard that. I went, yeah, probably. don't need to read the rest of this article. Yeah. I believe it. The article continues, setbacks in the preparation and construction of the elite training and administration base. So you agree it's elite, Sam? Okay. To be
Not yet, not even there.
It's elite soil. Well, even that is actually a bit of a problem with the methane and so forth. But anyway, to be built on a former Dingley landfill site has also divided the Hawks board, reportedly. It's understood multiple...
There's meant to be divisions in the board. I don't want a unanimous board.
We discussed this at the pub. Explain why.
Because it keeps the bastards honest.
Okay. We're getting a little bit democratic here.
Yeah, a little bit Democrat.
Yeah. That's... Yes.
But yeah, you need to have friction.
What you're saying is you don't want it to be a cult.
Now we've got enough of that. Cult is encouraged in the membership department. All for the cult there. Don't worry about any of the results, nothing.
Yep.
And keep paying your fees.
You don't want the cult bleeding into board level.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. I understand that.
And we have the skill at board level for them to be able to work through the arguments about why it's quite good to actually spend that amount of money, making Hawthorn probably future-proof going forward.
So you probably want a bit of healthy negotiation about these things.
Well, you also, you need to get people's egos involved.
It's understood multiple board members don't want the project to go ahead. Budgeted to cost $103 million and expected to be finished by mid-2024.
There's no way it's finishing then.
The facility will now cost millions more than that and be delayed for up to 12 months.
Yeah.
Insiders said the project had fallen victim to being undermanaged as much as construction complexities.
Undermanaged is a very big problem. Who is not putting their ego on the line for this project?
Yes, and what are they doing instead?
That is the first way to fail. That is the first way to fail. If nobody's identifying themselves as being in control, then they just pass the buck and no one's responsible.
Is there any way, even if we wanted to, is there any way back from this? It feels like maybe we've walked too far down the path on the Dingley project. That's my sense of it.
My sense is that we've outgrown where we are.
Yeah.
We need to find, in the Dare to Be Different committee or somewhere else,
Does that exist still, does it?
ways to generate enough funds to get this done, and the quicker the better. Because running two sites obviously entails more costs.
I agree with you that there needs to be change. I don't really care if it's Dingley, wherever. But we have outgrown our current facilities. I mean, hell, mate, I was at the museum today and that could use some more space. So
Yeah, well, I mean, and they get donations, and I don't know where all the donations go because there's not enough room.
Well, I can tell you where they go. There's a certain section of the museum where they're
But if you're going to say it's poorly handled, people aren't going to stop
I'm not saying
donating.
On the contrary, I'm saying it's magnificently handled, and it's a credit to it's just the
In
prestige.
all those locked drawers you walk past and you're like, oh, I wonder what's in there.
Well, it's the prestige and the privilege of being a Hawthorn supporter that clearly, and it's a magnificent museum, and Peter Habe's got yet more work to do because people donate stuff. And there's a section of the museum where it's like, oh, that stuff.
Not another bloody dreadlocks of Stratton. I can't stand these things. What am I going to do with all these wigs? Is that Peter? Sounds a bit like
it's
Peter.
more the
doesn't it?
domain of Hawk's Nest, I would say, rather than the museum. But no, the museum has so much stuff and still more stuff coming in.
They're an artefact of more poor choices from Hawk's Nest. Did you see their lovely tonal range they've gone with?
I don't know what they're doing. Don't know what they're doing with the tonal range.
I mean, that's just a layup for all your great work on Redbubble. Yeah.
Oh.
Cheaper and more unique.
Yeah, search Hawk Talk Podcast on Redbubble. If you want something that looks faintly like it's Hawthorn related, that's what I don't understand.
Like the stained glass Will Day. I've still got that shirt. It's great.
50 games for Will Day this week against
Yeah.
St Kilda. Yep, notching it up. No better time to buy a T-shirt.
I tell you what, when you see some of these names hit 50 games, let's say 80, when you've got 80 into Day and Newcomb and Reeves even, Brockman, if he's still with us, and Ward, like Seamus Mitchell, 80 games, they're going to be very good players.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I do wonder, he got Carl Amon from Port Adelaide, and Port Adelaide are very good. So the salesmanship of Sammy Mitchell, I don't think I have to worry about. I think we've got some big names on the way.
All right, that's a nice, neat little segue. I don't feel like I was done talking about the magnificence and the majesty of our Hawks Museum, but we'll move on.
Well, have they made provision for it in the plans at Dingley?
Well, this is my point. The museum needs more space because it's bloody brilliant, and there's still more stuff coming in. Our history is so storied and so proud.
Do you think we could, loan it out?
What do you mean?
Well, St Kilda's there with a cabinet. Nothing in it.
Yeah.
Frio's over there. They got a big cabinet as well. Nothing in it. Have a loan program.
I must admit, when I visited the museum today to get with the old man photos with the cups, it did cross my mind. There's nothing that looks like this at Moorabbin. What have they got? They got nothing in cabinets. What have they done? Nothing. I feel like you were edging towards talking about some of our potential off-season targets, of which all of a sudden there are numerous.
Yeah,
certainly rumoured anyway. Zach Fisher.
That came out of nowhere for me.
Yay or nay?
I really don't see that working, and I don't see him being that different to what we've already got.
Yeah, correct. That was my reservation there as well. What about this one, who I think will be snapped up by Port, but we'll see. Esava Radigalea.
I see the idea. He's come from a very, very good defence, knows exactly how the best defences are structured, and he would be a fantastic intercept mark.
Yeah, it's in service of supporting Sicily, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, that really frees up Sicily to devastating effect on the opposition.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Why wouldn't he?
Also, Frost goes to a weaker opponent as well.
Yeah, but I mean, why wouldn't he go to Port Adelaide though? I think most players, if they had the opportunity.
I thought there was a height limit at Port Adelaide. Isn't there a height limit? They're not allowed more than two blokes over 6 foot in the side?
You misheard. There's a hype limit for Port Adelaide. Got to keep
It's
the
so
lid on
weird.
it.
They've got no tall defenders. It's quite strange.
Well, I think he'll end up there because who wouldn't want to go there? They're right in the window right now. Strong words from Stevie J on one Liam Ryan.
Yeah, well, he's always one with the good oil, Stevie J, isn't he? I've never heard him go with a rumour before.
Neither have I.
It was quite strange.
And that makes me wonder if it might be true.
Okay, whatever. Liam Ryan. Okay, he's exciting. He brings people. He's a showstopper.
Yeah.
He brings them to the game. Mm-hmm. So could be fun to have him. And do you think if you get someone like Liam Ryan, and does that give a new lease on the contract to Chad Wingard? Because he's a high pressure forward, Liam Ryan.
Well, it could be a delicious combination to have both of those guys.
Yeah.
Running around for Hawthorn. I mean,
and Moore and Connor McDonald.
If you're talking about devastating
Bruce.
effect, yeah.
Not a bad.
Well, it gets really exciting there, doesn't it?
It does. Well, you get another 20 games into Connor McDonald. He's remarkably consistent. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I don't mind it. I think I like being linked to this many because we've got a huge amount of cash.
Yeah, Ben Mackay as well. He's said to be going to Essendon, but who knows?
Yeah, because you really loved his game the other week.
Yeah, no, I absolutely did not.
You don't trash talk players very much, but
no, I don't.
Ben Mackay copped it.
God, some of the vision was pretty poor.
He was much better against St Kilda, I got to say.
Went to affect a contest 30 metres away, leaving Mitch Lewis all by himself towards the goal square. Amazing. From one of their senior most players. How many games has he played? It's more than most of them.
I've no idea. But he doesn't have a good average appearances each year.
He doesn't have a good average win rate, as I pointed out.
Well, that's hardly his fault.
Does he play in the team or not?
Yes,
but... And excuse me, it's hardly my fault. So don't put it back on me.
He's hardly in the team, and then when he is, they still lose.
A sorry state of affairs. Hey, I thought we'd end on one last red time item here. This question from Tim. What's your favourite piece of Hawthorn-related live commentary? Is it 13 or is it something else?
Is it that for you?
Well, I suppose the question prompted me to consider other calls. And one that came to mind was about Dew, unlikely bulky hero.
Yeah.
The other one came against Fremantle as a grand final rematch in 2014. And I think it's the team goal where Bruce is calling it.
Yeah.
What does he say? Like, it stays in, go on, oh yes, now it gets very interesting. Yeah. Where you just sense that, and we know he's not a Hawthorn fan. So this is just Bruce being a pure football fanboy who is just salivating at what's unfolding in front of him.
Yeah, the best part of that is Bruce balking Ruffy to kick the goal.
There's I've got a weird soft spot. I don't think it's a great call, but I've got a soft spot for BT calling Rioli from outside.
I thought you were going to go with that was out of bounds. That was out of bounds.
You're Laidler, I'm Puopolo.
That is one of the worst calls of all time.
The one I want.
He says you're like I'm Puopolo. Did you see Eddie? Eddie had a good go at them today. He said, be a bit more, and I hesitate to use Elvis Presley, but a little less conversation.
Yeah, correct. And the other point that Eddie was making in that miniature rant was pull wider.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. With the television.
I want to see more of the play. I want to see the outlets there.
Yeah.
But anyway, the piece of commentary that I have a soft spot for was on Rioli's birthday, kicked the winner at the SCG. I think it was something like, has Rioli got the journey? He has! And just, I don't know.
He's kicked the goal, Cyril!
Yeah. I think being there really helped that one. I don't think it's a great call in and of itself, but, I mean, hell, that's what I was feeling. So
I think the best one... And it happens in the aftermath of the contest. And it's Bruce just talking to the mic, going, they've never been better than this.
They've never been better than this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're masterpiece.
That's exactly what it was. It was incredible. when you look back on it.
Don't know why, but the Dennis one that comes to mind is, oh, what a terrible compromise with Brian Lake smothering the ball.
Yeah. What about he's been a luxury?
Yes. Yeah.
And that's a pivotal moment in the
The
whole
little
thing.
man, higher for longer than all around him.
Now that's Hutto, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's Hutto. Yeah, with Puopolo. I'm telling you, mate, I said it before talking about the museum, we are privileged as Hawthorn fans to barrack for this great club.
And then early on, I think my favourite commentary was talk about a He-Man. We've had some fantastic moments. We haven't even mentioned Buddy's kicking the second goal from the boundary line on the run against Essendon.
That's right.
Or Warple's kicking the goal against Essendon, and then is it Gary Lyon or bloody Brereton? I can never work it out. Who says ha ha?
I've always thought it was Lyon.
Okay,
Yeah. The committee one with Buddy's second goal, he can't bounce it through, he puts it through on the full. Am I right with that reading?
right.
People message in at Hawk Talk Pod on Twitter. Tell me if I'm getting any of these right.
And one of the other ones that I really enjoyed, because I was there on the day for the Collingwood where Stratton handballs from the ground
Is
to
this the
Buddy
hurdle?
and the hurdle.
The hurdle,
And he
yeah.
kicks the goal, and then I heard the commentary later that evening.
An MCG special from Buddy.
Yeah. And it was so quick, that goal.
Oh, hang on. It is a good kick. It is a great kick. It's one for the ages. That makes a big statement.
And then in the 2008 grand final, there's the goal that finally is kicked by Willow,
Yes.
and that other commentary that was prophetic. Because if you go back, you can hear Bruce be a bit prophetic about where the game's going to go,
Yeah.
which is uncanny, by the
Yes,
way,
yeah.
because they're very unlikely to get any of those things right these days.
Is it McAvaney saying that I feel like Geelong's hanging on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he also, someone says Buddy can light a fire.
Yeah,
under
that's
himself.
committee. You can
That's
light a
committee.
fire. Yeah, and the smoke is starting to
Yeah,
rise.
it's just wonderful. All these little touchstones, really. You hear these
Mm-hmm.
phrases and you get the feeling you had in that moment watching it.
Hodge has done it from nowhere. This is indulgence. Isn't it? This
but
is
it's fun.
It is. It is very fun.
Opening the little memory banks to stuff like this. Oh, there's one, I'll never hear it again, but listening to the radio and we're down at the Cattery and Harford kicks a magnificent goal from the boundary line and we beat them off that kick. And I'll probably never, I can still feel a moment, but I have no idea what was said, but I remember that was just terrific listening.
Well, mate, we do a podcast. We broadcast to thousands. We're connected with thousands on our socials. If anyone has that clip, if anyone has anything to do with that game, hit us up at Hawk Talk Pod.
Of course, the best commentary I've ever done was, I think it was Chris Barlow against Melbourne. And
Of course, it's against Melbourne.
and I'm just sitting there, and I turned to Dad, and I've gone, Chris Barlow kick a boomerang here. Flicked it over the back. Chris Barlow boomerangs it straight through. One of those moments in life where you can just stand up and be, that's it for me. You know, I could never have gone back to the G after that, I reckon. Be happy. That was terrific.
I've got two more, and then we have to call it, okay? Because we could do this all night, and I have to edit this.
But you call things too, and then
Go
it
on.
happens.
What do you mean?
Oh, every now and again. It's usually Mitch Lewis. I think it's probably...
I know him too well. That's what that is. All right, I've got two more. Ben Dixon kicking the goal after the siren against Carlton.
yeah.
They're doing a war dance. This is crazy, he says. Is that?
Yeah, that's it.
That's one. Yeah, and the other one, which I'm getting it confused and muddled in my head, but I think it's Michael Christian calling Lance Franklin's goal in the 2007 elimination final.
Against Adelaide.
Yeah.
Rashudo's last game.
Was it his last game, was it?
Yep.
Well, there you go. Well, that's been consigned to history. No one talks about that.
Oh, that was the end of that Crows era, that game. Because there was a few just hanging on.
Okay.
And they had some very good players, but yeah, that feeling of people were dancing and jumping
Yeah.
up and down after that goal. It's been a while.
I've said it many times on this podcast. I almost fainted. Genuinely, I think it's one of the only times in my life I've almost lost consciousness because I was just cheering that hard.
Well, I went to the game on the weekend with a couple of girls who don't usually go to the football all that often. And they got right into it. I could see the blood pressure rising. And they took a good 20, 30 minutes to get over the fact that Hawthorn had lost. And I thought, fabulous. I might have actually got you hooked.
Oh, wow. Okay. I guess it is a rush, isn't it?
Yeah, no, they could not look away, and yet they couldn't watch. It was that kind of feeling.
That's a little bit what I go through. Yeah. So I empathise with that. Anyway, mate, we have to wrap up. I suspect it will be a different story this week. I back us in. Look, we didn't get the result against Richmond, but there was a lot to like, and certainly, some patches of some of our best footy. And if we bring anything like that against St Kilda, who seem to be on the downturn...
Oh, we can go on a run against them.
Yeah, you seem to back us in by 40 points. I'm not going to say it's that much, but I think we get the job done.
There might be an inconsistency of effort, but unless they've been putting in some really hard yards on the track, I don't understand how St Kilda could come back from what they were putting up against North.
Well, I see you there, mate. Are you going to sit with me?
It's so hard to convince people to go this week, I've got to say.
Oh, what? It's not a blockbuster?
Yeah,
what are you trying to say?
No, bloody Marvel. Everyone hates it.
Yeah.
And look, I have already penciled in 2 people to go to the Box Hill. Instead, they were like, I'll go to Box Hill, but I'm not going to Marvel.
That is, it speaks well of City Oval, though, doesn't it?
It does.
It's got the community day out there. It's going to be good fun.
Should be good weather, actually.
It's a good weekend for footy. You got Box Hill on the Saturday. Pretty good chance of a win, must be said. Pretty good chance of a win at Marvel Stadium, our home game.
Wear your tonals.
I will do no such thing. I'll be wearing the brown and gold as it's meant to be, supporting and cheering on the boys. We'll be back next week for another edition of the Hawk Talk podcast, win, lose or draw. Hopefully thumping the Saints, if you don't mind.
Sicily could get 50 touches. I'm serious. Playing in the forward line.
We're a happy team at Hawthorn, I guess.